Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are plunging into something incredibly practical and, frankly, pretty fascinating.
Mm,
How your brain functions after age 30.
mm.
And, maybe more importantly, how you can actively optimize it for learning, thinking, tackling new stuff.
Yeah, we've been digging into some really great source material for this one. Specifically, drawing insights from a source called Optimize Your Brain After 30.
Right,
And it's just packed with, research-backed methods, not just concepts, actual techniques.
exactly. So our mission here is basically to pull out the most powerful, the most actionable nuggets from this source for you.
Kind of like a shortcut.
Yeah, think of it as a shortcut to understanding the owner's manual for your adult brain.
Yeah.
Giving you practical ways to enhance your thinking and learning, like starting right now.
Because knowing how it works at this stage, it isn't just academic, is it?
No, it's really the key, I think, to transforming how you learn, how you solve problems. So let's just jump in.
Okay, so the source lays out a number of key techniques. And the first one, well, it might sound a bit counterintuitive if you're always trying to, avoid stress.
Yeah, this one's titled, The Brain Loves Tight Deadlines. Surprising, maybe.
It can be. But
Mhm.
what's really interesting here is the biological why that the source describes. Our brain doesn't just tolerate pressure. Often it performs best under it.
Really?
Yeah, time constraints, according to the source, they actually cue your nervous system to release certain chemicals. Norepinephrine is one which actually boosts focus, alertness, even creativity.
Huh. So it's like a built-in performance enhancer.
Exactly. It's not just about, the external push to finish something. You're leveraging an internal chemical reaction.
Right. And the source suggests deliberately setting clear goals, short-term, long-term, with specific time frames.
Mm-hmm.
It claims this intentional use of deadlines can really increase your work efficiency. So for you listening, maybe think about that next task, that learning goal.
Yeah.
Could you intentionally add a tight deadline, even just for a small part of it? See if you tap into that natural focus boost.
It's worth trying. Okay, so building on how the brain handles information flow, the next technique looks at the different speeds we process things.
Ah, yes. This is described very vividly. The brain has both express and regular lanes. I like that analogy.
It's a great one, isn't it? Your express lane is basically the brain's system one thinking. Quick, automatic, intuitive.
Right.
It's brilliant for rapid decisions, reacting instantly, handling routine tasks without really thinking. It's fast, it's efficient.
And the regular lane, that's system two then.
Exactly. That's your slow, deliberate, analytical thinking. This is the system you engage for complex problem solving, evaluating arguments, making significant, well-considered decisions.
Takes more energy, I bet.
It does, yeah. More energy, more time, but it allows for that deep analysis.
So the key insight here from the source, it seems, is just recognizing when to use which lane.
Precisely. Engaging your fast, intuitive thinking for something that really needs deep analysis. Well, that's a recipe for error, isn't it?
Yeah. And the other way around too, right? Getting bogged down in slow, deliberate thought for just a quick, routine decision, that's just inefficient.
Totally inefficient. So for you, just being aware of these two modes can help you consciously switch gears, improve your decision-making efficiency in different situations.
Makes sense.
Now, here's a really crucial point the source makes. Learning itself needs to change after childhood. Technique number 3 emphasizes, adults must change their learning methods.
This feels fundamental. Because as kids, we're like sponges, right? Lots of absorption, imitation.
Just soak it up. But the adult brain, it learns differently. The source really highlights that adults learn most effectively when they can connect new information to their existing knowledge, their experiences.
Okay.
Finding personal meaning, understanding the why behind needing to learn something, and focusing on practical application. These are far more powerful drivers than, say, rote memorization.
So just sitting passively in a lecture, that's not going to cut it as much anymore.
Probably not as effectively, no. The source specifically mentions things like participatory learning, actively asking questions, deliberately forging connections between new concepts and what you already know. These are vital.
Right. So what does this mean for you listening? If you're trying to learn something new, are you just trying to absorb it passively?
Or are you actively engaging, questioning, thinking about how it fits with what you already know or how you might actually use it?
That's the key difference.
Definitely. Okay, next up is a technique that's, well, it sounds almost deceptively simple, but the science and the source backs it up. Walking enhances brain data processing efficiency.
I love how accessible this one is. It feels so basic, walking.
It does, but the source explains the concrete benefits. Light physical activity, like walking, significantly increases blood flow to the brain.
More blood means more oxygen, more nutrients.
Exactly. And that increased flow, it does more than just keep things ticking over. It stimulates the production of new neurons.
Really? New neurons.
Yeah, particularly in areas like the hippocampus, which is crucial for memory. So it's a direct pathway to improved memory, boosted creativity, sharper problem-solving skills.
That explains why so many people say their best ideas come when they're out for a walk.
It absolutely does. The practical tip from the source is actually to walk specifically when you feel stuck on a problem or when you're contemplating complex issues.
Ah.
It suggests that getting your body moving helps your mind process information, lets answers or insights kind of emerge more naturally than just, staring at a screen.
So for you listening, this is maybe the easiest thing you could possibly integrate. Next time you're hitting a mental block,
Just take a walk.
take a walk around the block, see what happens.
Okay, here's an empowering one. This next technique really challenges the idea that we're just fixed in our abilities. It's how to transform weaknesses into strengths using your brain.
I like the sound of that. The core message here from the source is incredibly optimistic, isn't it? Your aptitude in any area, it's not fixed.
Not at all. It can absolutely be developed, often significantly, with the right kind of effort.
And the source outlines the process, right?
It does. It's about, first, breaking down the complex skill you want to develop. Make it into smaller, manageable components. Then, consistently practicing those components, and crucially, seeking rapid feedback on how you're doing.
Feedback is key.
Yes, and using that feedback for continuous sort of iterative improvement. Keep adjusting.
So what's happening in your brain when you do this? Systematically, I mean.
Well, the source points out you aren't just reinforcing existing connections, you're actively building new neural pathways.
Like dedicated roads for that skill.
Exactly. Think of them as dedicated, high-speed information highways just for that skill. The more you practice effectively, the stronger and more efficient those pathways become.
Wow. So if there's a skill you find challenging, the source is basically saying you can fundamentally change your brain's capacity for it.
Yeah, by deliberately breaking it down and practicing it smart. It's not magic, it's mechanics.
Right. Practice, feedback, repeat.
Now, the source gets quite specific with the next point. It cites some neuroscience research about a certain threshold. After 75 hours of learning something, brain mechanisms change.
75 hours. Okay, that feels like a tangible number, a goal.
It does, doesn't it? And the source frames this not as some arbitrary number, but as a point where something significant actually shifts in the brain.
What kind of shift?
Well, the research suggests that around this amount of focused practice or learning time, you see a qualitative change. Those new neural pathways we just talked about,
Yeah.
they don't just get built, they start getting myelinated, which is basically like insulating them with a fatty sheath.
Okay. Insulation. And what does that do?
It makes the signals travel much faster and much more efficiently along those routes.
So it's like upgrading the wiring.
Kind of, yeah. And the result is that skill you were practicing starts to feel less like conscious effort and more like, well, second nature.
Requires less mental energy.
Exactly. So for you, knowing about this 75-hour threshold can be really motivating, I think. Well, when you're struggling through those initial, maybe clumsy stages of learning something new, remember there's this biological tipping point you're pushing toward.
Right. Keep going. Persist through those first 75 hours.
You got it. Okay, moving from building skills to actually retaining information. The source gives a very practical tip for scheduling your learning. It's read 10 minutes daily for 12 days instead of 2 hours in one session.
This perfectly illustrates that idea of distributed practice versus massed practice. Or, cramming.
Exactly. Cramming just doesn't stick long term. The source explains that giving your brain smaller chunks of information over time,
With breaks in between.
yeah, with periods of rest and processing in between, it's vastly more effective for long-term storage than trying to force a huge volume in all at once.
So that specific example, 10 minutes daily versus 2 hours once, that really shows it.
It does. It shows the brain processes, consolidates, creates connections much better with that spaced repetition.
Yeah.
Time to digest.
So for you listening, instead of blocking out a massive chunk of time to read that dense report or study that complex topic,
Try breaking it up.
try breaking it into much shorter, consistent sessions. Like feel slower at first, maybe.
It might. But the source suggests your retention will be significantly better. Your brain actually has time to, work with the information properly.
Right. And this leads directly into the next point, which addresses that critical period right after you learn something new.
Technique 8. Learning and reviewing on the same day makes memory more accurate.
This ties into something the source mentions, that classic Ebbinghaus forgetting curve.
Ah, yes.
It shows how incredibly quickly we lose new information if we don't reinforce it. The source points out you can forget, what, over 50% in just the first 24 hours?
It's a huge drop-off, yeah. It's pretty dramatic. And the simple act of reviewing on the same day is probably the most effective way to fight that initial forgetting.
Just signals to your brain, hey, this is important.
Exactly. It signals this information is important enough to move into long-term storage. And the source offers a specific technique here.
Okay.
Review the material about an hour after you first learn it. Then give it another quick review before you go to sleep that night.
Huh. An hour later, and then before sleep. That sounds doable.
It's a really easy two-step habit you can implement immediately.
Learn something, review it an hour later, quick review before bed. That small time investment could make a huge difference in how much you actually remember accurately.
Definitely worth trying. Okay, point number 9. This speaks to that feeling, that light bulb moment.
The aha moment, when you understand aha. So that's how it works. You'll remember precisely.
Yes, we've all had those moments, that sudden flash of clarity. The source identifies this not just as, a pleasant feeling.
With more than that.
It's actually a powerful signal from your brain. It means it has successfully forged new, strong connections between different pieces of information. It clicked.
And because the information is now integrated, connected into your existing knowledge structure.
Exactly. It's much more deeply understood, and therefore far easier to recall accurately later. It's tied to something meaningful, not just floating around in isolation.
Right. So how do you make those moments happen? Can you?
Well, the source suggests you can actively cultivate them. Don't just passively receive information. Ask questions.
Be active.
Yeah, seek out examples that really illustrate the point. Consciously try to connect the new material to your own real-world experiences.
So for you listening, this means actively striving for that deep understanding, that aha moment, rather than just like skimming the surface.
Right. That feeling is your brain telling you, okay, I've got this now. It's locked in.
Got it. Okay, finally, the last technique. The source highlights a powerful tool for memory, one we maybe see as separate from cognitive function.
Technique 10. Enhance memory efficiency using emotions and feelings.
Emotions. They feel so distinct from logic or memory, right? But the source makes a strong case for their crucial role in how we remember stuff.
Absolutely crucial. Information that's associated with emotion is significantly more likely to be recalled later on.
Why is that? Is there a biological link?
There's a strong one, yeah. Your brain's emotional control centers, like the amygdala, are deeply intertwined with its memory centers, like the hippocampus.
They're neighbors, basically.
Very close neighbors. This means emotionally charged events, or even just pieces of information learned with some emotional connection, they stick with you much more strongly than neutral ones.
Okay, so how can you use this deliberately for learning things that aren't inherently emotional?
Good question. The source suggests making your learning material more engaging. Maybe structure it like an interesting story. Use vivid or emotionally resonant examples.
Or connect it to your own feelings.
Yes, find ways to connect the new information to your personal feelings or experiences. For you, tapping into emotion isn't a distraction from learning.
It's actually a tool.
It's a powerful accelerator for memory and retention. Make it interesting, make it personal, make it memorable.
Wow, okay. 10 really concrete techniques there.
Yeah. So if we just look at the bigger picture drawn from this source, optimizing your brain after 30, it isn't about wishing you could go back to how you learned as a kid.
Right, it's not about going backwards.
No, it's about understanding how your adult brain works now, its strengths, its shifts, and then intentionally adapting your methods to align with those mechanisms.
Right. The source really drives home that by consciously applying these techniques, like leveraging deadlines for focus,
knowing when to think fast or slow,
changing how you approach your learning, using simple movement like walking,
practicing SMART to build those neural highways,
understanding thresholds like that 75-hour mark,
spacing out practice, reviewing information quickly,
chasing those aha moments,
and even tapping into the power of emotion.
You can absolutely continue to learn faster, remember more accurately, and develop new skills more effectively throughout your adult life.
Yeah, it's about being a skilled user of your most powerful tool, really.
It's a shift, isn't it? From just consuming information to actively engaging with it in ways that work best for your brain now.
Exactly. A much more active role.
Absolutely. So, given all these insights we've pulled from Optimize Your Brain After 30, I mean, from deadlines to walking, the 75-hour rule, the power of aha moments. Here's a final thought for you to consider as you wrap up this deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
Which single technique out of all these feels most intriguing or maybe most applicable to your life right now? The one you're most curious to experiment with first, just to see how it impacts your own learning and thinking.